震えて走るのを閉めろと言えないと僕の命の星が消えるその日まで歩いてくあわ間違えた。これ We do not expect our children to work either at home or in factory. They contribute nothing to the economic well-being of the family. They are freer than they have ever been before, simply two children. We see them as the center of the family, around which the rest is life. We follow them forward into the which were first in every generation.メールチェックしてね。来てないか。Well, we do not expect our children to work either at home or in factory. They contribute nothing to the economic well-being of the family. They are freer than they have ever been before, simply to be children. Today we do not expect our children to work either at home or in a factory. They contribute nothing to the economic well-being of family. They are freer than they have ever been before, simply to be children. We see them as the center of the family around which the rest of life revol- revolution revolves. Revolves. We protect them from responsibility which were passed in earlier generations. Today we do not expect our children to work, either at home or in a factory. They contribute nothing to the economic well-being of the family. They are freer than they have ever been before, simply to be children. We see them as the center of the family around which the rest of life revolves. We protect them from responsibilities which were forced in earlier generations. Today we do not expect our children to work, either at home or in a factory. They contribute nothing to the economic well-being of the family. They are freer than they have ever been before, simply to be children. We see them as the center of the family around which the rest of life revolves. We protect them from responsibilities which were forced in earlier generations. Today we do not expect our children to work, either at home or in a factory. They contribute nothing to the economic well-being of the family. Therefore, they are freer than they have ever been before, simply to children. We see them as the center of the family around which the rest of life revolves. We protect them from responsibilities which were forced in early generations. まあ読めた。いいよ。やばい、終わっちゃうな、これ。28。これを終わればもうあと簡単なやつばっかり。簡単かは知らん。1時には帰れそうだな。帰ったら5時なんだよな。眠くないしな。近くじゃないし。いいや。 It is also the basis. It is also basis of intellectual achievement. Intellectual achievement. Object attainment of independence and even of proper pride. Attainment って何だっけ attain 得ること。何をですか of independence 独立 independence and even of that proper pride which enables a man to hold his head high amongst his fellows. 知能的達成感 attainment 得ること独立すること and even of that 適切なプライド抗議することの土台はこれ全部はませんこれは enables a man to hold his head high amongst his fellows 同僚の間でヘッドハイドンにさせる柱になっちゃうみたいな感じかなIt is also the basis of intellectual achievement of the attainment of independence and even of the proper pride which enables a man to hold his head high amongst his fellows. なんとなくわかるが、それもまた It is also the basis of intellectual achievement of the attainment of independence. To host the basis of intellectual achievement. 知能的達成感かな。それもまた土台である。攻撃のってことだよね。攻撃的な攻撃というのは攻撃部分、攻撃的な部分というのは知能的達成感。知能的達成感じゃないの。まあいいや。インテラクチャー、賢い、達成感、知能的知能とである。知能的達成感。知能的達成感。attainment。なんて訳そう。達成感。何かを得ること。何かを得ること。これもしかして独立の獲得か。なんか違和感感じたんだよな。独立の獲得。And even of that for pride. 適切な誇りでさえ、 適切な誇り。これは、the man 人間を、これは可能にさせるよ人を to hold his head high among his fellows。これは仲間内でリーダーにさせることができる的な。させることを可能にする。そういう感じの意味でしょう。without triangle shell。家庭法か。もしも攻撃がなかったら、攻撃性がなかったら、人間にだよね。攻撃性がなかったら、active side of his nature man。active side。活発な。生来的に人間の活発なサイド will be even less air that will be even less。わかんねえ、何これ。なんとなくわかるけどさ、he is人間の行動力かな。行動力、active side。行動力でいいや。行動力は、なかった時より、これあるんだ。攻撃性がある場合よりも、人生の行動、人生の道を進む力的な。人生の道を進む力や、周りに影響を与える、周りへの影響力は少なかっただろう。よっしゃ。知的業績。うわ、めっちゃ読めた。嬉しい。 いや、だいぶ良いだな、これは。Geographic part of human nature is not an unnecessary safeguard against savage attack. これサベージって何だっけサベージ。野蛮人。そうですか。Geographic part of human nature is not an unnecessary safeguard against savage attack. 外的な攻撃に対する必要な安全装置としてではない。人間の性質の攻撃的な側面というのは外的な攻撃に対する必要な安全装置であるばかりではない。Geographic part of human nature is not only a necessary safeguard against savage attack. It is also the basis of intellectual achievement, of the attainment of independence, and even of the purpose right which enables a man to hold his head high amongst his fellows. 知的業績 intellectual achievement of the attainment of independence, and even of that proper right. Which enables man to hold his head high amongst his fellows. なるほど。ちょっと読み違えたけど、ちょっと惜しい。で、まさかウィッチがこれしかかかってないと思わなかったな。プライドは、Geographic part of human nature is not an unnecessary safeguard against savage attack. It is also the basis of intellectual achievement, of the attainment of independence, and 確かにそうだね。and of that pride. これそんな選考肢を示すやつなんてあるんだ。なるほど。これ2つかかっちゃうから選考肢が上がるようにだったらどうか。So precious. That pride. なんかこれ、むず。なんでこれ、監視いらんだやろ。バンに監視がつかないんでわかんねえ。出てくるかね。そういうこと？そういうことか。監視つけなかったら人類って意味になるのか。すげえ。そうか。監視つけたら男になるのか。なかなか差別問題や。なるほどね。The aggressive part of human nature is not only a necessary safeguard against savage attack, it is also the basis of intellectual achievement, of the attainment of independence, and even of that purpose right, which enables a man to hold his head high amongst his fellows. Without the aggressive active side of his nature, man would be able than he is to direct the course of his life or to influence the world around him. The aggressive part of human nature is not only necessary safeguard against savage attack, it is also the basis of intellectual achievement. It is also the basis of intellectual achievement, of the attainment of independence, and even of the public right, which enables a man to hold his head high amongst his fellows, without the aggressive active side of his nature. Man would be even less able than he is to direct the course of his life or to influence the world around him. よし。読めたぜ。The sheer numbers of Europeans. シェア純真なみたいな感じだっけ。The sheer numbers of Europeans who, これはヨーロピアンかな who left their homelands in century before 1914. 1914年以前のセンチュリーで left their homelands 残ったなんか地元故郷に残ったヨーロピアンの純粋な数かな。2 何これ to the oceans ここまでがこれはおそらくヨーロピアンにかかってるのかな。これが V でしょう。統一が起きてるのかな。これが V で、これが S でしょう。難しくはないか。of which they were a part. なんだこれ。何これ。全然わからん。全然わからない。これが名詞でしょう。だから、The Shonen of European who lost their homelands in century before 1914. 要するにだ。1914年以前、1914年以前の世紀にホームランズにとどまった人だったから、まあ要するになんだ。ホームランズにとどまった人なんだから。まあホームランズって何？故郷に残った人。故郷に残ったヨーロッパ。残ったヨーロッパ人が海外に行った。その後とね、海外に行った純粋な数が提案している。How important was the moment of which they were a part? They were a part of a movement. 移動の重要さを、移動がどれくらい重要かを示唆している。示唆している。なんだけど、移動まあわかんねえや、これ以上。最悪、とどまるじゃない、ステイとか。まあそう、ステイしかねえな。バカやな、俺。そんなことないよ。とどまる。いや、そうだよな。彼らを一部とする移動。日本語よくわからん。何を言ってますか？だいぶ読めてるね。 なんとなくわかるけど、The sheer number of European share って何？純粋じゃないの？膨大なの？知ってるんですけどね。シェア。これ、膨大っていうのは、シェア？本当だ、シェアナンバーでそうなんだ。知らんかったー。Who left their homelands in century before 1914? まあ読めたか。彼らを一部とする移動はちょっと意味がわからない。彼らを移動の一部とする。彼らを移動の 一部分とす。彼らが移動の一部分だった。珍しい。The sheer numbers of Europeans who lost their homeland in the century before 1914 to go overseas suggest how important was the movement of which they were part. The sheer numbers of Europeans who left their homelands in the century before 1914 to go overseas suggest how important was the movement of which they were part. The sheer numbers of Europeans who lost their homeland in the century before 1914 to go overseas suggest how important was the movement of which they were part. The rain has cooled the air. どういうこと？なるほど。We don't call wine. We don't call wine in bed living. We don't call. これ We don't call wine in bed living. どういうこと？ We don't call 呼んでない wine リビングのベッドで寝るなんて言ってないと。We don't call. なるほどね。We don't call wine in bed living. We have never heard him speak in a loud voice. We have never heard him speak in a loud voice. The rich are not always happier than the poor. SVC か。It took me 2 hours to do the work. It took me 2 hours to do the work. これは SVOC かな。OO でした。The man was my father. The rich man was my father. The rich man was my father. The man throwing the bat was my father. The man gave me a lot of money. The man was my father. The man gave me a lot of money. The man who gave me a lot of money. 関係施設内部の理解においては、もとは文の形であった。確かに。The man gave me a lot of money. I think it was the man. 少々ね。The man was my father. 少々また、先行詞か名詞の形ではなく、前置詞を加えて副詞の形で、そうだね。This is the house where he was born. 疲れた。 The show members of European who left their homelands in the century before 1914 to go overseas suggest how important was the movement of which they were a part. The sheer numbers of Europeans who left their homelands in the century before 1940 to go overseas suggests how important was the movement of which they were a part. The sheer numbers of Europeans who left their homelands in the century before 1940 to go overseas suggests how important was the movement of which they were part. まあいけるか。よし。頑張れ。疲れた。 まあなんとなくわかるか。読むの遅そうね。むず。I have always wondered its passion. I have always wondered. I have always wondered its passion. Many people have to meet celebrate. あ、これ有名人ってことだ。celebrated って。多くの人は、うん。いや、なんて訳せばいいんやろわかんな。タイミング。You are yourself. これは合ってた。 スモールアカウント、取るに足らない人ってこと。まあでも、まあまあまあ、意外にいけるな。スモールアカウント。文構造は分かってたけども、訳せなかったってことですか。I have always wanted a expression many people have to meet that celebrated. The prestige you acquire by being able to tell your friends that you know famous man proves only that you are yourself of small count. なるほど。I have always wondered as Persian many people have to meet that avoided. The prestige you acquire by being able to tell your friends that you know famous man proves only that you are yourself of small count. 文構造が取れた。I have always wondered as Persian many people have to meet じゃあ have なんだよ。People have to meet the have to じゃなくて have なんだね。have to meet the provided. Persian many people の間に関係代名詞が省略されています。Wonder は何を取るのこれは。ワンダーってアット取るんかな。ワンダーアート。ワンダーってザットじゃなかったっけ。ワンダー。取る。前置詞。ワンダーって、ほんとにアット取るんだ。アットとザットか。なるほどね。 I have always wondered a question many people have to make the survived. Suppose teach your career by being able to tell your friends that you now famous make calls only that you are yourself also can't. I've always wondered that question. Many people have to make the survived. Suppose teach your career by being able to tell your friends that you know famous men, proves only that you yourself also can't. I have always wondered this question. Many people have to meet the celebrated. The positive you acquire by being able to tell your friends that you know famous men, proves only that you yourself also can't. ふう、疲れた。帰ろうかしら。長っ。長いな。10からか。To form a strategy, individuals must be related in a certain manner. For instance, if people do not communicate with each other, if they are perpetually in aggressive physical combat, if they do not cooperate with each other, and do so routinely over a period of time, then their interactions are not social, and they don't constitute a strategy. 一旦とりあえず終わったということで、お疲れ様でした。明日は、明日できるかな？忙しいけど、私。いや、疲れた。 よいしょ。そうだ。To form society, individuals must be rated in certain manner. For instance, if people do not communicate with each other, if they are perpetually in aggressive physical contact, if they do not if they do not cooperate with each other and do so routinely, routinely or periodically, then their interactions are not social and they don't constitute a society. なんかめちゃくちゃなくなってる。What? そういうことか。なえるから考えますか。To form a society, individuals must be rated in certain manner. For instance, if people do not communicate with each other, if they are perpetually in aggressive physical combat, if they do not cooperate with each other and do so routinely over a period of time. then their interactions is not social and they don't constitute a threat. The fact that animals lose their knowledge of strengths as time goes by, and consequently their interest in them, accounts for their absurd behavior in many situations. They constantly interrupt one line of action to do something else, and they may come back to the first activity or forget it altogether. Human beings, on the other hand, thanks to language, are able to pursue one purpose or to act in relation to a principle or to an ideal over long periods of time. The fact that animals lose their knowledge of strength as time goes by, and consequently their interest in them, accounts for the absurd behavior in many situations. They constantly interrupt one line of action to do something else, and they may come back to the first activity or forget it altogether. Human beings, on the other hand, thanks to language, are able to pursue one purpose, or to act in relation to a principle or to an idea over long periods of time. Without language, one would communicate only simple thought, ideas, and experiences. But with language, he can talk to other men and he can put himself into writing for other men to read. By these means, he can make known to others all of his thoughts, ideas, feelings, and experiences. However, I feel that the teacher's role is more fundamental than the critic's. It comes down ultimately, I think, it comes down ultimately. It comes down ultimately, I think, to the fact that his first obligation is to the truth of the subject he is teaching, and that for the reading of literature ever to become a habit and a pleasure, it must first be a discipline. これめっちゃむずいよな、これ。However, I feel that the teacher's role is more fundamental than the critical's. It comes down ultimately, I think, to the fact that it comes down ultimately, I think, to the fact that his first obligation is to the truth of the subject he is teaching, and that for the reading of literature ever to for the reading of literature ever to become a habit and a pleasure, it must first be of discipline. Discipline. Discipline って感じだった気がする。However, I feel that the teacher's role is more fundamental than the critical's. It comes down ultimately, I think, to the fact that his first obligation is to the truth of the subject he is teaching, and that for the reading of literature ever to become a habit and a pleasure, it must first be a discipline. 14これめっちゃむずいな。聞くか説明後で。14は忘れずに聞くか。ここら辺めっちゃむずいんだよな。Popular music can be said to comprise all the various kinds of music that might not be considered under the general heading of jazz or classical music. The division between the two words has always been fairly clearly defined, with those active in one sphere very trespassing in the other, and never more so than today, when instead of distinction being based on fluctuating artistic taste, it is fairly firmly based on economic considerations. Film music can be said to comprise all the various kinds of music that might not be considered under the general heading of jazz or classical music. That division between the two worlds has always been fairly clearly defined. The division between the two worlds has always with those active in one sphere while trespassing in the other, and never more so than today, when instead of the distinction being based on fluctuating artistic taste, it is fairly based on economic considerations. これむずいよな。これも聞くか。The first real change in their lifestyle came when, instead of hunting and gathering animals and plants, they brought them together and looked after them in a single location. This eliminated the elements of danger present in hunting and reduced the probability of starvation, as there was no longer the possibility of returning empty-handed from a foraging expedition. It was the beginning of agriculture. Where do the proteins come from? Where do the proteins come from? There are two main sources: sewage and industrial waste. As more detergent is used in the farm, some more of it is finally discharged with sewage into our rivers, lakes, and shells. Detergent harms water first by dissolving the natural fatty substances, which keep their fossils waterproof. Sewage itself, if it is not properly treated, pollutes the water and prevents all forms of life in rivers and the sea from receiving the oxygen they need. これも簡単。Even when the sick season is not built into the grammar and usage, as it is in French and English, the speech community often regards masculine values as norm. Successive generations unconsciously observe sexism in language because each speech community. Successive generations unconsciously observe sexism in language because each speech community commits to its children both a way to construct grammatical sentences and a value system for the use of its language. まあ、これも難しい。これも無理だ。これも無理。It is not uncommon for strained relationships to develop between an adolescent and his parents. In his great eagerness to achieve adult status, the young person may resent any restrictions placed upon him. Oftentimes he is not willing to admit, even to himself, that he has doubts and fears about taking on the responsibilities and freedom. The adolescent may say that his parents are over-anxious and protective, though not, though not aware of it. He is projecting his own anxiety down. 暑いな、この中。泣きたい。It is not uncommon for strained relationships to develop between an adolescent and his parents. It is not uncommon for strained relationships to develop between an adolescent and his parents. In his great eagerness to achieve adult status, the young person may resent any restrictions placed. The young person may resent any restrictions placed upon him. Oftentimes, he is not willing to admit, even to himself, that he has doubts and fears about taking on adult responsibilities and freedom. The adolescent may say that his parents are over-anxious and overprotective, whereas though not aware of it, he is projecting his own anxiety into them. Although the city dwellers Although the city dwellers dealing with people whom he doesn't know very well gives him on the one hand a certain degree of freedom that he would not have if he were dealing with family and friends in a small town. He loses, on the other hand, the sense of security that comes from living in a close-knit community. The assertion that mathematics has been a major force. The assertion that mathematics has been a major force in the molding of modern culture, as well as a vital element of that culture, appears to many people incredible or at best an extreme exaggeration. This belief is quite understandable and results from a very common but mistaken conception of what mathematics really is. それが良い。The crucial issue is whether the essence of life resides in the heart or in the brain, because the body really shuts down all its systems at once, and because hospitals have access to the most modern life-preserving machinery. It is entirely possible that the brain deprived of an adequate supply of oxygen could die, while the patient, often with the help of hospital equipment, remains alive. The crucial issue is whether the essence of life resides in the heart or in the brain, because the body really shuts down all its systems at once, and because hospitals have access to the most modern life-preserving machinery. It is entirely possible that the brain, deprived of an adequate supply of oxygen, could die, while the patient, often with the help of hospital equipment, remains alive. In the world of nature, there are always compensations. As a contrary rate, have become familiar at an early age with the following maxim: that there is never a year when every crop succeeds, nor when every crop fails. Irresident years are forming a rate, and its advisors have started to assume otherwise. They have been convincing themselves that if they prepare their plans according to the latest scientific knowledge and put them efficiently into practice, success is assured. The social experiences and barriers of the world and old and the young have always been in conflict. If younger people did not question the advice and beliefs of the parents, little change or progress would ever occur. But with the accelerating speed of change in modern times, the conflict between members of different generations, or between those people anxious to adjust to change and those less inclined to do so, are in danger of becoming more harmful than helpful. なんで過去形なの？まあ、いいか。Furthermore, the very phrase by which these conflicts are described, the generation gap was becoming out of date. The social experiences, the social experiences and barriers of the old and the young have always been in conflict. If younger people did not question the advice and beliefs of their parents, little change or progress would ever occur. But with the accelerating speed of change in modern times, the conflicts between members of different generations, or between those people anxious to adjust to change and those less inclined to do so, are in danger of becoming more harmful than helpful. Furthermore, the very phrase by which these conflicts are described, the generation gap was becoming out of date. By raising of the fact that educated English, by raising of the fact that educated English is thus accorded enforces social and political sanction. Enforces social and political sanction. It can still be referred to as standard English, and provided we remember that this does not mean an English that has been formally standardized by official action as weights and measures are standardized. The term is useful and appropriate by reason of the fact that educated English is thus accorded imposes social and political sanction. It can still be referred to as standard English, and provided we remember that this does not mean an English that has been formally standardized by official action, as weights and measures are standardized. The term is useful and appropriate. いや、これね、使ったな。By reason of the fact that educated English is thus accorded enforces social and political sanction. It can still be referred to as standard English, and provided we remember that this does not mean an English that has been formally standardized by official action as weights and measures are standardized. The term is useful and appropriate. There is general opposite to, if not positive distrust. 不信感があるというわけではないがって感じか。If not a positive distrust of science itself as a search for truth. For to the ordinary American, science is identified with mechanical inventions. Ask an American to name the greatest scientist of this country and he will very likely reply Edison. As a nation, we respect only the practical application of science and have regard for the efforts of inventors and promoters rather than those of the scientific discoverers. There is general opposite to, if not positive distrust of science itself as a must search for truth. For to the ordinary American, science is identified with mechanical inventions. Ask an American to name the greatest scientist of this country, and he will very likely reply Edison. As a nation, We respect only the practical application of science and have regard for the efforts of inventors and promoters rather than those of the scientific discoveries. Today, Today we do not expect our children to work either at home or in a factory. They contribute nothing to the economic well-being of the family. They are freer than they have ever been before, simply to be children. We see them as the center of the family around which the rest of life revolves. We protect them from responsibilities which were forced on earlier generations. The average part of human nature is not only a necessary safeguard against savage attack, it is also the basis of intellectual achievement, of the attainment of independence, and even of that proper pride, which enables a man to hold his head high amongst his fellows. Without the aggressive, active side of his nature, man would be even less able than he is to direct the course of his life or to influence the world around him. The show numbers of European who left their homeland in the century before 1914 to go overseas suggests how important was the movement of which they were a part. I have always wondered at the pressure many people have to meet the celebrated. The prestige you acquire by being able to tell your friends that you know famous men proves only that you are yourself of small count. Frank talks between an adolescent and his parents often reveal that the adolescent is basically willing to rely on his parents for protection in many situations. On the ability of individuals to learn to live in harmony with others depends the future of mankind as world. On the ability of individuals to learn to live in harmony with others depends the future of mankind as world. Among topics we discussed over lunch was the regrettable habit. Film directors then had of altering the plot of a novel to suit themselves, to the extent even of changing a sad ending into a happy one. The scientist and the theologian approach the deep question of existence from two different starting points. Science is based on careful observation and experiments involving theories to be constructed which connect different experiences. Reality in the working of nature are thought which hopefully reveal the fundamental laws that govern the behavior of matter and forces. Central to this approach is the willingness of the scientist to abandon theory if evidence is produced against it. And Shields kings were more likely than the former to influence world events, and to have biographies written about them. What we know of history has been largely shaped by the experience of famous men. I do not consider the making no mistakes is a blessing. I have learned once that I shall not make the same mistakes again. Nothing is gained by wasting time in reverting mistakes. It is much better to employ the time in what only the greatness of man does not lie in his being faultless. It is sometimes inevitable. The real virtue of man lies in recognizing that faults can be set right and in striving towards them. To write out human version is a difficult task, because the term is used in so many different senses. Evolution is one of those words. Evolution is one of those for which everyone knows, but which are nevertheless hard to define. One difficulty is that there is no clear dividing line between those from the evolution which we are deployed and those which we must not discern if we are to survive. Yet it is a very free and open to tools that survive. The fortune, the happiness of everyone of us and more or less of those who connect with us to depend upon our knowing something of the rules of our game infinitely more difficult and complicated. It it might be said that a is the dictionary of the direct language. No matter how fast and how thorough a dictionary maker might be, by the time he has gathered his words, written a description of them, and will publish his work, all words will have changed in one way. Our studies suggested that the link was proved. More recent research suggests that the damage is more subtle. Teenagers do not see murder on TV and feel encouraged to knife someone of their research. To form with choosing rules writing. これ簡単か。簡単 the fault. Inputting the accounts for the これも簡単か。簡単だね。これ超簡単だ。22番もやっておくか。これやっぱ赤難しかった。まあ読めたか。これもまあまあ読めた。まあ一応やっとくか。なんかちょっと間違えたし。よし、終わった。疲れた。帰ろう。 帰るか。疲れた。一応持って帰るか。一応。僕持って帰る。疲れた。疲れい。